Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Brabber and alongside me is Logan Camden. And today we are also joined by two very special guests, two good friends of the show. We've got Theo Ash with us and we've got Joel Moran. Theo, you've already been on the pod this summer. Thank you for coming back. Joel, we're going to have you and all the Pick a Side guys on later in the summer for some trivia. But today, we're not doing trivia. We are doing an all-time NFL draft, which I am very, very excited for. But before we get into that, gentlemen, how we doing today?
I'm doing great. I have my draft board in front of me, and I feel really good about my draft strategy. I'm going all offense, fellas. I'm going to reveal a little bit early. And I feel like there's enough defensive players to where I could come back to that later.
Okay.
He's giving away the sauce for free.
Good as well. I'm
for
feeling
free.
good as well.
Yeah, I would never share a single tidbit of information with any one of you. I'm an iron curtain back here.
I was watching the Hall of Fame game yesterday. It's got
You
me
gonna take any
wanting
of
to
those
take.
guys?
Yeah. It's got me wanting to take
Trey Lance?
DeAndre Lambert-Smith.
Could be good
I think
value
he might
late round.
slot into number 3. Yeah, I could get him in the last round. Third
you
best
could.
receiver ever. But yeah, it was good to sit down and watch that, and always good to see the Lions get beat, of course.
Hater on his hater shit. Respect
It was
it.
nice to see that Kyle Allen pick 6, too. I saw on
We
Twitter
hate Kyle Allen.
they were saying that it was Jared Goff. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
It's his spirit working through him. Well, we'll see if we get a Kyle Allen pick today. It would be bold, but it just might pay off. So here is how today's going to go down. Basically, in terms of criteria for the draft, I'll explain at least how I'm viewing it, and then you guys can weigh in and add anything that you think. But generally, my philosophy when we talk, especially NBA stuff, but also with NFL, is I do try to judge players relative to their era, just because I think you can't really expect anybody to be decades ahead of their time, right? You judge people against their contemporaries. That being said, we did an all-time NBA draft earlier this summer, Logan and I did, and I think I really, really adhered to that. Football is a little different for me just because I'm trying to build a team specifically for the modern game, and in that way, I just think the game has evolved so dramatically, obviously, most notably with the major passing boom that we've seen in the last few decades, that I do think in that way I will maybe prioritize the modern skill sets a bit more specifically. We are also going to be drafting players based on their peaks, so we are not drafting an entire career body of work. Because that's just not really how a roster is put together, I think. If we're putting together a roster, we're getting these guys at their best. Also, assuming health for these guys. So we're just going to take everybody at their absolute best. And then we are going to build a full offense and defense here. We're not doing special teams. Unfortunately, we will not be drafting punters. But we got 11 starters on both sides of the ball. However, personnel decisions are your call. If you want to go 11 personnel on offense, you want 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. If you want a fullback, go ahead and take Mike Tolbert. You can put together your offense however you want. Defensively, if you want to go 3-4, 4-3. If you want to live in nickel the entire time, that's fine, but you're not going to have different packages to go to. So, with all that being said, are there any questions or comments from the fellas before we set this draft order?
The only thing I would add is I think you said it well. It is a little harder, I think, to judge players like in the 1970s and stuff like that just because of the rule changes. Like, football really was just a completely different sport, like before the Mel Blount rule, before all the adjustments that were made. So I think that context is important. That being said, I still do think that players back then could have played in today's game, and we don't denigrate any eras just because guys played.
I'm taking slinging Sammy Ball 101,
Go for
baby.
it. You should.
If I get the first pick. Okay.
If you're going to do that, I'm okay with you getting the first pick then, Carson.
I'm glad
Let's
that you
see it.
mentioned peaks because that means that Albert Haynesworth is on my board.
Good. As he should be.
What if he shows up to camp and he fails the conditioning test?
I got to take that into account, I guess.
Yeah, you can't guarantee that. You cannot guarantee a conditioning test pass. All right.
Are they getting big contracts when we draft them, or are they on rookie deals?
Everybody
Extra
is
incentive to
financially
take-
compensated.
Extra incentive to
adequately.
take Brady because he's going to take a pay cut for the rest of the squad, man.
Do I have to give an under-the-table donation to the TB12 Method Company, or is that
I think Tom would like that. I
is
think
he
it would
just
help.
taking the contract?
Tom's going to take the contract, but if you're not involved with TB12, he's probably going to be a little pissy about it. And how does
Yeah.
that affect the locker room?
Oh.
It's hard to say.
he's also going to want a peck on the lips, Theo. That is in the contract.
And that is on the contract. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Logan. All right. I'm going to now random number generate an order here for the draft. We are, of course, going to be in a snake order, which means it is not going to be a fixed order where everyone picks in the same slot round after round. Instead, it is going to reverse so we all have the same value available to us in the draft. Joel, you're going to be number 1. This is not your draft spot. This is just the number you're being given. Theo, you're 2. I'm going to be 3. Logan's going to be 4. The first pick goes to 3. So it's me. Okay. Did this happen last time? Did I get the first pick? No, you got the first pick. I got the second pick. The second pick is going to Theo. The third pick is going to Joel. And so the fourth pick is going to Logan. So Logan gets the 4-5 turn. Wow, I'm going to be honest. I didn't want the first pick. I kind of wanted to see how things played out early, and there were multiple guys who I was going to be okay with landing at the most valuable position.
We can trade. I'm down.
But if we trade, we have to trade for multiple rounds. We could trade our entire draft order right now, but there's a lot of ramifications of that. You know what? Some people may think that this is crazy, but I'm a crazy SOB. I'm taking Lawrence Taylor first overall.
That's
what I was going to do.
That was number 1 on my board as well.
All right. Well, I guess you guys don't think I'm crazy. You guys think that I'm a
No.
freaking genius. I just think, again, in terms of value relative to position, there's a bigger gap between him and the rest of the field than there is, to me, at quarterback, which I feel like is the obvious other place. You look, and I just think I'm getting the greatest defensive player ever. I think I'm getting an A++ GOAT level pass rusher from the outside linebacker spot. I think I'm getting one of the greatest run defenders ever. I think I'm getting a guy who really could play in coverage at a high level. It's everything that I need at an extremely valuable position. And also, I'm building a 3-4. I have decided, just because I want not to go full on nickel, even though that's arguably the most practical for today's NFL. I want to try to strike the balance of still having that elite physicality presence up front with a lot of big time pass rushers, but also I want guys who can move and can cover. And so I want more linebackers on the field. And I just feel like LT is the best building block of my defense who checks all those boxes. So Theo, it's now to you at number 2.
Yeah, I'm going to follow a similar strategy and take Reggie White.
Okay.
The Minister of Defense. He didn't quite win a Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie like Lawrence Taylor did, but he did make 5 first-team All-Pros in a row after that. Actually, 6, and never was below second-team All-Pro from 1986 to 1998, which is pretty ridiculous. Almost 200 sacks in his career. He peaked at 21 sacks in 1987 as a big old D end. Just crazy power. He's going to be my first pick. I agree that, like, for these defensive players and these defensive linemen, there's 3 names at the top that really stand out, and then I agree that there's a bigger drop off there than at quarterback.
Packers legend. By the way, Reggie, unique on his resume, just insane production across multiple different spots. Just another testament to his greatness. True. So now, Joel, goes to you.
I'm going to go with the player who had 3 different Hall of Fame careers in his career. 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. I'm going with Tom Brady.
Okay. Which version of Brady do you want? What do you consider his peak?
07 season is probably what I'd consider his peak. That's probably the one I'd single out.
Okay. All right, Logan.
No, I got hit with an ad, bro. I was going to play the draft sound. Fuck it. All right. This guy...
Logan was hyping up before we started recording that he was going to play the draft sound for every pick. And get owned, buddy. Get owned by
I did get owned.
America.
I got owned by the big media machine.
Yep.
They got to get their grubby ad revenue. I'm going to take Ray Lewis with this pick. Lewis was very high on my board. I think he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time, obviously. All over the field, one of the hardest hitters. And when I'm thinking about defense, we kind of mentioned this. We've mentioned this throughout, but I want a leader, and I want psycho crazy SOBs. My ideal draft, I would have gone Taylor 1, Ray Lewis 2. I want nasty, crazy MFs, and Ray Lewis fits that bill. With my turnaround pick, I'm going to take the third guy that was going to be on my board, and that's Aaron Donald. I think Donald's the greatest defensive tackle of all time. It's really as simple as that. I think that when we're talking about positional value, I think some of these positions, there are guys that just stick out above the heap. Taylor, to me, at the outside linebacker position, is that guy. Ray Lewis is that guy at the inside linebacker position, and at D tackle, for me, that is Aaron Donald. So I just think that those are three of the guys that provide the most positional value, and that's why they were highest on my board. So I'm very happy with these first two picks.
You cooked.
That's a great pick.
I wanted Donald second round.
Me too. I was hoping you weren't going to take Aaron Donald because I was going to be my next pick. I'm going to go with arguably the GOAT defender at his position. I'm going with Deion Sanders.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
That brings it back to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Anthony Munoz.
Wow.
The tackle.
Like
Just you mentioned people kind of ahead of their time, and I think he was that just as an athlete and as a shutdown tackle. I think he could survive in the modern era more than like a Forrest Gregg, probably. Although I would have to go back and check maybe more film to know that for sure. But he was kind of the blueprint for these like crazy athletes like Ogden after him and maybe Tyron Smith after that. Like Munoz is kind of the guiding light for that archetype.
Yeah, no, Munoz is a good pick. I mean, almost like the consensus GOAT offensive lineman at the most valuable position. Theo very much building from the trenches, which I do like. And I think I'm going to continue to do the same on the defensive side of the ball. I did want Aaron Donald because of that just positional outlier factor that Logan mentioned. And I also wanted Ray Lewis. Maybe not quite this high, but probably by the third round or something. But I'm going to take J.J. Watt. I'm just going to put together the most fearsome pass rush that you've ever seen. I do think that when you look at peak J.J., like the 4-season span in which he's got multiple 20-sack seasons, a 17-sack season, he's putting up tackle for loss numbers that like far surpass anybody else. He literally has, if I remember correctly, the top 3 single-season tackle for loss totals ever in this 4-year span. I just think an absolute physical freak. I mean, 6'5", 290, technically so proficient. I think in terms of all-time pass rush, all-time run defense, he honestly might have the highest peak of any defensive end ever. And so I'm very happy to get him here. Now I've got the turnaround. And I'm looking around. Man, at some point I just think it's kind of crazy if this guy keeps falling. I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes. I just think it's the highest quarterback peak that we've ever seen. To me, I think that especially when you're talking about like 2022 Mahomes, to me is probably the absolute best, even though 2018 is his peak production. Part of that was just the league not fully having adjusted to the level of explosiveness that you were dealing with that Chiefs passing attack. For him to do what he did in 2022 after Tyreek Hill, when he didn't have that level of an explosive weapons group and to still be that insanely productive, I just think that's when he peaked in terms of still having those like A++ all-time physical traits with a top-tier arm in NFL history, but also being that level of surgeon intellectually. And of course, always have to bring up the mobility as a key selling point for him. And that was kind of a prerequisite for who I wanted as my quarterback, somebody who can really move, who can extend plays, who can at times overcome these insane pass rushes that they're going to be facing. I just think that Mahomes has the best all-around combination of everything that I want from a quarterback. And especially we get into a big game, you know that Mahomes is good for one of those big-time scrambles, a third down. Situationally, the execution is just so pristine. There's another guy who I love at quarterback who I really was thinking I'll be so fine getting him with. Maybe I wait on Mahomes. That being said, I think in terms of pure value, Mahomes is 101. I don't think there's ever been a more valuable player than the best quarterback peak in NFL history. So I'll take him in the third round pretty happily. So it's back to you, Theo.
Very valid. I'm going to continue building the offensive line, and I'm going to take Larry Allen.
Damn.
I'm going to take Larry Allen. I think about Tyler Smith, who's on the Cowboys now. That's like the biggest, baddest, strongest guard in the league. I can't imagine somebody who's like bigger and badder and stronger.
Larry Allen had sandwiches named after him in Dallas, man.
Theo just probably got the two best offensive linemen ever.
Yeah.
I was hoping I could get him a little later, but
Theo's offensive
Trenches
line
are
is
strong.
looking ridiculously good. He just needs a potential former Jet center to fill it out.
Mangle.
I'm going to go with the GOAT wide receiver. I'm going with Jerry Rice. I feel like he's been slipping here, and I just have to take him at this spot. I was thinking about another receiver that maybe, let's see if he falls to me now. Need 2 more picks from Logan to see if that happens, but I'm going to go with Jerry Rice.
You can take him. This draft has really worked out well. I'm going to take Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu at the turnaround picks, and I'm going to have the greatest safety tandem of all time.
wow.
And because
All
you created
defense.
the greatest safety tandem ever, I'm going to potentially create the greatest wide receiver duo ever, and I'm taking Calvin Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be nasty, Rice and Johnson. That's
So
fun
nasty.
to think about.
Bro, you could put Tua back there. He might throw for 7,000 yards.
Zach
Theo?
Wilson, potentially 4K.
This is the most Logan thing ever, by the way. 4 picks deep, 4 defensive players. 3 of them from the AFC North. He knows his identity.
I think I'm going to take Peyton Manning, the 5-time MVP. I think there was a stretch in the early 2000s where the gap between him and even Brady was pretty big. Didn't quite translate to playoff success like Brady did, and I guess that would be the concern, that he's just more of a shrinker. But that's something that, especially in the NFL, I never think too much about, just because the sample size is so incredibly small. And he does have 2 rings at the end of the day, so he can't be that bad.
No, I mean, Peyton, I think, is the greatest regular season quarterback ever. I think it's pretty hard to argue against it. The playoff dropping is enough to where I think there were 3 quarterbacks who I would have had over him. One of whom, Theo, I think you love a great deal as well. I really was in love with Aaron Rodgers. I'll just come out and say it now that everybody but Logan's taken a quarterback. And, like, I was fine to wait for him. But I'm very happy with Mahomes. And now with Mahomes, I am going to put, in my opinion, a top 2 receiver of all time with him. I'm taking Randy Moss. And you took Megatron, Joel. To me, I wanted one of the freakiest athletes to ever play the position. I wanted one of the guys who's 6'5" with 4.3 speed, can jump out of the gym. And to me, Randy is even the slightly more freakish version. I think he's even the slightly more insane red zone weapon. Guy comes into the league and is giving you 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns as a rookie. I just think that combination of deep threat explosiveness with A++ red zone value, nobody's ever quite delivered at the level of Randy Moss. And honestly, I'm so tempted to take another receiver to pair with him right now, so I can put together a receiving core, a receiving duo that at least rivals yours, Joel, is maybe even slightly better. But I think I'm going to wait a little bit. And I think instead, there's a lot of great receivers. I'm going to take maybe the single craziest outlier in terms of peak at any position. I'm going to take Rob Gronkowski. I just think we can have this
Good
GOAT
pick.
debate, right, about him versus Kelsey when it comes to the entire career, but when it comes to peak, it's not remotely close. 2011 Rob Gronkowski, relative to position, one of the greatest seasons ever, over 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, while being probably the greatest blocking tight end we've ever seen. I mean, and probably the greatest red zone tight end we've ever seen. I just want that guy. I mean, just such an A+ force in both the pass blocking game and the run blocking game and the receiving game.
His on-off splits are ridiculous if you look at like Brady's numbers with and without Gronk. Like, not that he ever had like that many crazy receivers outside of Gronk, right? But
yeah. And the thing is with Gronk, you know, the full bottom line numbers won't tell the story because of injuries, but like this entire 5-year span, whenever he was on the field, the year after this, he only plays 11 games. He has 11 touchdowns and 790 yards. He was basically on the same pace in terms of production. He's just insane.
Obviously, this is like a bit of a
I really
cliche
like that
too,
pick.
but the fact that Gronk is such an elite blocker is really what separates him from some of these other, like, you know, Kelsey's fantastic. Gonzalez is fantastic. Jimmy Graham, right, at his apex is an elite receiving tight end, but it's like Gronk is in a different tier than those guys as a blocker, and I think that's the huge distinction.
And also, I think I have the 2 greatest red zone weapons in NFL
That's
history
nasty.
now.
With
I have
Mahomes,
Randy
with the
Moss
best
and
with the
Gronk.
best quarterback in NFL history.
And the best pass rushing tandem. I like what I'm doing. Okay, Theo, it's to you.
I'll take Julio Jones
Good pick.
to begin the receiver room
Over
here.
AB?
Over
I
AB.
love
That's a
Maybe pissed
ridiculous
about that.
take. That's a ridiculous take.
Dude, the more I think about it, the more I think Julio just might be the GOAT, point blank, period. Like, Julio was so tall, so fast, like, ridiculous route runner, ridiculous catch radius. Like, he's got more route running chops than I think Calvin did, and just more of a catch radius than AB did. Like, he was pretty much everything you could ever possibly ask for in a receiver. Like, just not a single hole in his game.
That's Jerry Rice, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Well, but I mean, Julio's an A athlete in a way that Jerry wasn't. Like, I do think Jerry's the GOAT receiver, but they're not the same.
I think
Julio-
there is a case for Julio.
Julio's top 5, I think. Like, one, actually not top. I'd give him. I couldn't go over Marvin, but I could hear top 6.
Okay. Well, Joel, it is now you.
This is interesting now, because I could go a variety of different directions. I feel like I need to add to my defense. I have 3 offensive players. I only have 1 defensive player. I'm building my team sort of outside in. I'm going with, secondary players and quarterback and receivers. But I'd be really hell-bent if I didn't take the guys I wanted to take. This is tough. I think this is going to be my first offensive line pick. I think I'm going with Trent Williams at left tackle.
Valid.
Nice. Very valid.
Valid. He's crazy. He's like a bullet, man. Like, just such a bulldozer.
I need some offensive line strength.
I mean, he's
Especially
he's,
for
he's-
Brady. Because
Yeah.
Brady's not
Yeah.
moving around and making up for offensive line like some of the other GOATs could.
Trent's a freak of nature, like truly one of the greatest tackles of all time. I was hoping he was going to slip a couple other rounds, but that's a really good pick. At the turnaround here, I'm going to take T.J. Watt at 20. I think he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time. He is the only player in NFL history to lead the league in sacks 3 different times. I think he is a historically great defensive playmaker in terms of his versatility, too, not just sacks, where he is one of the elite players in NFL history. He broke the single-season sack record. The totals won't tell you that. They took multiple sacks away from him that year. He had 23 to 24 sacks that year that they took away.
Let's get our tinfoil hats on.
But he is a historically great defensive playmaker in terms of tackles for loss, in terms of forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. He's also great in coverage. Like, that's what I think gets undersold about TJ sometimes is really his versatility. Like, TJ Watt is one of those defensive players that he's not only an elite edge rusher. You could put the guy at middle linebacker and he would be an elite player there. He is a great football player. With that, I'm going to stay on brand, and I'm going to take Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett is one of the greatest defensive ends in terms of peak of all time and one of those true freaks of nature. So, we had a debate for a long time. Who's the best defensive player in football? Is it Aaron Donald? Is it T.J. Watt? Is it Myles Garrett? I don't have to think about that. I just got them all.
Hard. Damn, that was hard. I did want Myles Garrett next round, too.
Yeah, that was a great pick. I'm gonna
All
go to
defense.
defense. Yeah, his defense is gonna be insane.
Dude, he's a real
players.
Steelers head. The Steelers cap situation right now, if you look at like the top 6 highest paid players on the team, it's all defense. They've got to be the only team that's true.
And that's how it's
for.
been since
No, it is.
1971.
Literally.
That's the only
Logan.
way they've ever done it.
And Logan is carrying on the.
Logan's
tradition
carrying
here.
it on.
Beautiful.
I have to add some defensive talent to rival what Logan is doing. I'm gonna go with Bruce Smith, multiple-time defensive player of the year. I feel like I need a blue chip player on the defensive line to solidify it and to start building off of it. So I'm going with Bruce Smith.
Good pick.
I'm going to continue to build the offensive line to counter what Logan is doing, and I'm going to take John Ogden from the Ravens.
Damn! Oh
Great
my
pick.
God, dude! Nobody is getting past Theo's guys. That's a crazy tackle tandem.
That is insane. Yeah, I mean, I was going to try to get Ogden to be my left tackle, and now he's Theo's second best tackle. So that's insane. I want to build from the trenches. I do. Because I am a trench baby, and everybody knows that about me. I really wanted either Garrett or Bruce. I would have loved both of them. I think I might now complete the greatest receiving tandem the league has ever seen. And I will take Antonio Brown here. I think that as a complement to Randy Moss, he's the perfect guy who I could add, where I'm getting somebody who has that combination of elite top-tier all-time route running, but I also think AB's explosiveness at his best can be underrated. This is a guy who had really, really high level speed. And also I think that AB at his best was an underratedly elite red zone target, like had some crazy touchdown production. But now that I've got the two insane massive freaks, I wanted somebody who can dominate underneath, elite route runner who can play inside and outside. And even though he's really an elite all around receiver, can be the possession guy within my offense to some extent. And that's what Antonio Brown is going to give me. And then I don't know if you guys will think this is a reach. I don't think it is when we're just talking peak. I'm going to take Luke Kuechly here. And once Ray Lewis was off the board, I thought that he was very clearly the next best inside linebacker on the board. Since I'm playing a 3-4, I obviously am investing highly in that linebacking core. And I just think he checks every box that I want from an elite inside linebacker for today's NFL. He was obviously an extremely high IQ defensive player, excellent in coverage, also extremely effective in the run game, tackle machine. It's everything that I want. And so if I wasn't going to get Ray Lewis, he's the next best option on the board as, in many ways, like the captain of my defense and somebody who's super versatile and impactful. So, Theo, back to you.
I'll take Alan Page, the defensive tackle from the Vikings. He finished third in MVP voting in 1970, which is pretty ridiculous for a defensive player to do. And then he won it the next year. That's crazy. So the only other, I think, defensive MVP is Lawrence Taylor, who went with the first overall pick. So I
this next pick is going to be due to positional scarcity because I don't know how many of these guys I recognize and that I think are all time at their position. I'm going to fill out my tackle spot with Lane Johnson at right tackle.
It's fair. Very fair.
I'm going to take Derek Thomas with this pick. I have now gotten the three, I think, best outside linebackers in NFL history, except for Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence would have been my 101, but the next two guys to me are TJ Watt and Derek Thomas. And with this next pick, we're going to play some old school, nasty, smash mouth football. I'm going to take Jim Brown.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Goat running back.
That was an awesome pick. Jim Brown was going to be the first running back off my board. I was probably going to take him at this spot right here. Wide receiver, I feel like waiting on it. I really want to take a third wide receiver right now, but I'm just so comfortable with so many players that I think it can wait a little bit, and I think the same goes for tight end. I'm going to add to my defense, and I'm going to create the greatest cornerback duo ever, and I'm going to have Darrelle Revis paired up with Deion Sanders.
Nice.
Very valid. I've got to make kind of a passion pick here because now a running back is gone, and it's scaring me. I know there's a lot of great running backs out there, but I feel like Barry Sanders has just got to be on my team. I feel like there's a lot of things about Barry Sanders and the way he plays that I think are just like GOAT athlete stuff, like GOAT problem solver. Like there are things about the way his brain works that, I don't know, just say a lot about what humans are capable of, like generally. Like it's kind of different. He's weird to even watch because he was so good at breaking tackles.
The craziest thing to me about Barry is just how small and compact he is. Because he was 5'8", Barry's center of gravity was just so low to the ground, you just couldn't knock him over. Like he had such impeccable balance. That's him and Walter Payton to me are like the 1A and 1B of like, you just can't bring these guys down. Like they're going to stay on their feet. They're going to, in a different way to like a power runner, like a Jim Brown or a Earl Campbell. Like those guys are so agile too. Like I think that's Barry's best trait. And I think it's a great pick.
Top two running backs of all time go as the first two running backs. So that feels very appropriate to me. I'm going to go back-to-back trench picks here, and I'm going to go back-to-back Rams. I am going to take Orlando Pace. I think that he is the next best available tackle on the board. I mean, truly an all-time great and Titan. And, boy, you really could argue the best player on the best offense in NFL history. Obviously doesn't win an MVP like Marshall Faulk or Kurt Warner, but if you're just stacking them up all time at their position, Orlando Pace makes a really strong case as being the best. I mean, I would say a top 3 tackle of all time. And then I'm going to go other side of the ball. I'm going to take Deacon Jones. To me, there were 5 defensive ends who I had kind of in a tier of their own as the top 5. 4 of them have gone. Deacon is the one left. And by the way, Theo, I love the Alan Page pick from you. And I think after Aaron Donald, he is the next defensive tackle who should go. And Deacon is another one of those all-time great throwback defensive players. But his sack production, even though it's unofficial, absolutely ridiculous. There's a 5-year span where he gave you over 100 sacks. So he averaged 20 sacks a year for 5 seasons. I mean, just a ridiculous athlete for the time, and had like that modern defensive end build. This wasn't a guy who, because of his era, wasn't freakish in that same way. This guy was 6'5", 275, and explosive as hell, and one of the most productive to ever play the position. So now I feel even better about my all-time great pass rush. Theo, back to you.
Yeah. I'm going to take... Dion is gone. Revis is gone. I might take Ronnie Lott, the safety. Just a huge hitter, physical presence, can cover. I think I had a book when I was a kid that was like the top 10 of each position that was like put together by Sports Illustrated, and I think Lott was number 1 at the safety position. So I didn't watch much of him. I have watched one San Francisco playoff game back when he was on the team, and he was going off. Like, he was just jumping routes, like breaking up passes, crunching receivers. So I was like, okay, I kind of see what all the hype's about. So between watching that game and the book I had as a kid, I'm going with the Lott GOAT case and picking him.
I think after Ed Reed, he's the first safety you should go. So I think it's a very good pick.
And he's stamped by Carson.
Bay Area legend. Ronnie Lott, he couldn't leave
True.
the Bay. Niners and Raiders legend.
I think I'm going to go with a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year here. One of the pillars of the Steelers in the 70s. I'm going with Mean Joe Green.
It's nice.
I'm going with some throwbacks on my defensive line. Bruce Smith, Mean Joe Green.
I mean, there's some nasty defensive tackles back in the day.
Yeah,
for
people
sure.
can't disparage Mean Joe at all. I mean, Mean Joe is the reason. The Steelers before Mean Joe were a absolute joke of a franchise. When he came in out of North Texas, I mean, he completely transformed that team, and he's the pillar. Like, he is the foundation of those 70 Steelers teams. So that's a great pick. I'm going to take another Steeler right here. I'm going to take Rod Woodson. To me, when you're talking about GOAT all-time cornerbacks, Rod's one of those guys. He has, positional versatility. I'm not going to need him to play safety because I've got Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu, so Rod can be a full-time corner. But one of those freaky guys like Deion Sanders. I don't want to put him in Deion's tier because I think Deion is in a tier of his own in this regard. But like those guys that when they get the ball in their hands too as defensive players are always a threat to make a house call. With that, I'm going to take another cornerback, and we're going to shore up my tandem. I'm going to take Richard Sherman here. Where I think if we're talking about absolute apex, I was debating Sherman, and I was debating Night Train Lane. But I don't want to be against Night Train because I think Night Train has one thing over Sherman, and that's the fact that he's one of, also, like Ronnie Lott, just one of the hardest-hitting defensive backs in NFL history. So that was the balance I was trying to strike, but I feel like when we're talking about absolute apex and in the modern era, Sherman's up there with Revis, and I mean he might be atop the list. So
go back and take Mel Blount. Undo it and take Mel Blount.
I thought about
Be
Mel.
a real Steelers fan.
I'd rather have the boy.
I gotta live and die by being a nickel. And I look at Deion Sanders and his lack of tackling ability. I feel like I need to compensate for that in some sort of way. So I'm going to take Charles Woodson, 2009 Defensive Player of the Year, who also has positional versatility. He's going to play corner for me, but he could play at safety. He can do everything. He won a Heisman. He won a Defensive Player of the Year. He's a Hall of Famer. Charles Woodson, I think, fills out my corner room pretty nice with Dion and Darrell.
Yeah, this is super fucked because I was literally going to go back to back Sherman, Charles Woodson. I think that you made a lot of great points. Specifically, what I love so much about Sherman, Logan, is the size. I mean, that we need somebody who can go out there.
He's
and
he's a
Calvin
complete
Johnson.
positional outlier in terms of
Massive.
size. Him and Night Train Lane are the two guys.
Well, and Mel Blount. Mel Blount was big as hell too. And Logan, I don't know if you know this, they had to change the rules because Mel was too nasty. He was too physical. He was too monstrous at the corner spot. I really wanted to start going secondary here, and then you guys took all the best secondary players. With a couple exceptions, I think the best corner still on the board is Champ Bailey. So I'm going to take Champ.
Wait, hold up. I think it's Theo's pick, and
I'm
then Carson's
sorry.
got 2 turnarounds.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, you are right, yeah. Carson has a
Theo.
chance to get sniped once again.
I just hopped all over the mic. Not my turn.
Bro started having a panic
turn is
attack once he saw them corners flying off
I had
the
an
your turn,
identity
Theo.
crisis. I said, okay, I think I'm just going to jump a spot.
You jump me?
No, but I didn't actually make a pick, so it's you.
Okay. I'm going to take a secondary player. I'm going to take a Sun Devil. I'm going to take Mike Haynes.
Nice.
He had 8 interceptions his rookie year. You talk about size, he's 6'2", 192, like crazy athlete, tons of production on the ball. He had over 600. He had a season where he had 220 return yards and interceptions, and he also was a great punt returner, so he could double as that.
I thought Theo was going to take Jack
But,
Jones,
yeah.
man.
First Sun Devil
Wow.
taken, I believe.
First Sun Devil taken, that's correct, which is kind of a disgrace on us. We should be only taking Sun Devils. Okay, so as I foreshadowed, now I'm going to take Champ Bailey. I think he's the best corner left on the board. And then, boy, I've got some decisions to make here, don't I? I am going to go with the guy who I thought maybe I could get as a steal later, but I just want him right now. I'm taking Bob Sanders as my strong safety. I think that I need to load up my secondary, and we're talking peak here, man. Very, very few safeties have peaked higher in NFL history than Bob Sanders. In fact, in probably the strongest era ever for safeties, this guy played 2 seasons in which he was healthy. Both years he was first-team All-Pro. He won Defensive Player of the Year in one of them. I just think probably the greatest run-defending safety we've ever seen, an absolute monster in terms of his physicality, his pursuit, his speed. Just going to be extremely impactful both in the run and pass defense. So I'm going to take him here.
I don't know if these are the exact right numbers off the top of my head, but one of those years, like the Super Bowl winning season, I think specifically, the difference with Sanders on and off was like between the best defense in the NFL and the 23rd defense in the NFL. Like his impact. And it sucks because I think the reason that Bob couldn't stay healthy was because of his size and his play style. Like, Bob played like a missile. Like, he always seemed like he was playing at full speed. Like, him, Sean Taylor, Brian Dawkins, they just played with this, like, reckless abandonment. And that's a great pick. I mean, when
They
Sanders
could turn their brain off and just become the physical embodiment of, like, tackling. Like, literally,
Missile, yeah.
You're not even a human anymore. You're, like, just... Yeah, a missile. Somebody who's designed to bring
crushers,
somebody
man.
down. Like
Yeah.
it's with no regard for your own health. So obviously you're gonna get
the
hurt.
numbers with Sanders is that in the regular season they allowed 173 rushing yards per game when he wasn't on the field. In the playoffs, that went down to 82.
And also, I mean, I don't have time to calculate like the specific each game on off, but 2006 is the year when they win the Super Bowl because he comes back and is healthy for the playoffs and makes a huge, huge difference for their defense. But he missed almost that whole regular season, and they were 23rd in scoring defense. The seasons around that, when he was basically entirely healthy, 2005, they were the number 2 scoring defense. 2007, they were the number 1 scoring defense. So he's one of the most impactful defensive players in NFL history when he was healthy, and I just think it's underrated because of the brevity of the peak. But I'm putting together him, Luke Kuechly. They're going to be fully healthy. Gronk, I'm exploiting the full health rules of the draft, but we got a lot of talent. Okay, Theo, back to you.
Back to me. I will go with I'll go with Jack Lambert from the Steelers as my linebacker. I hope he's not too small. That was kind of the big knock on him, was that he was like a 220-pound linebacker. But linebackers these days are getting smaller and smaller, and if he could survive back then,
he's 6'4" though, man. He's tall.
Yeah, he's tall, and like the stories about him are insane. Like he was like threatening the other Steelers defenders, like, I'm gonna hurt you if you mess up, and then they like locked in and wore the steel curtain and like won the Super Bowl without Joe Green because Lambert like put the team on his back.
The year that he wins Defensive Player of the Year, Lambert actually finishes second in MVP voting.
Yep.
He's, great in coverage, great all around. You guys could take notes. You guys could take any Steeler from those 70s teams. They'll work on your defense.
Thank you, Logan.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of great defensive players that have went. I need a tone setter. I also, I'm just gonna, this is tough. I think with my next pick, I'm going with a player who nobody can deny his peak. Some have questioned the accolades that come with the longevity of his career. That is Bobby Wagner, the middle of an all-time defense, can cover at his very best. Still one of the best run defenders in the league. I'm gonna go with Bobby Wagner.
I like the pick. He was on my board.
That's not so valid in 2025. Is putting him on first is like the best linebacker in the league, but on an all-time draft,
you don't think he's the best linebacker ever?
Right now,
Theo, nobody knows linebackers better than him.
Putting him as number one is one of the craziest rankings I've ever seen in my life. When like Fred Warner and Zach Bond are running around.
I think he had a player from the Chargers, Denzel Perriman, in the top 10. That didn't like play much last year.
No, he's not the best Chargers linebacker. That would be Henley, I think.
Well, Teo's got a hell of an imagination on him, so
he does.
He does. He's creative. He's a creative thinker.
You guys have taken some of the offensive linemen that I really wanted off the board, but I'm going to take the two guys I think that have the best positional value right now. And with my turnaround pick, we're going to get some guys to clear the way for Jim Brown. I'm going to draft Steve Hutchinson and Alan Faneca here at the turnaround pick. I think Faneca is one of the all-time guys in terms of versatility, being an elite run blocker and pass blocker. And Hutchinson's a great pass blocker too, but he's more well-known for run blocking. He blocked up front for Sean Alexander in his MVP season. He blocked up front for a young Adrian Peterson. I need some big boys that are going to clear the way, and I can't think of a better guard tandem.
That's an excellent pick. I was playing Madden 10 yesterday, and those guys were at the top of their positional overalls. You couldn't get much better than Hutchinson and Faneca, Jets legend Faneca. Okay, puts me in a tough position because I was going to take one of those guys next, but you sniped me and you took both. With my next pick, I'm going to go with one of the hardest hitting safeties in NFL history. I'm going with Cam Chancellor.
Oh, I thought you were setting up for the Darren Sharper.
Yeah, me too. One of the hardest hitting safeties in the league.
That's fair, though, man. Cam Chancellor hits so hard that I had a friend who legitimately was a Cam Chancellor phobe. He had a fear of Cam Chancellor, like you might have a fear of sharks or something. Like he would go into a dark room and he would like immediately have to get the lights on and check the corners for Cam Chancellor. Scary guy.
He's big, 6'4". Madden 11, 65 overall. Wasn't too sure about that as a rookie. People didn't think he was going to be that good, but he was a Hall of Famer.
He beat the allegations.
Craziest one I ever saw was Richard Sherman in Madden 12, bro. They gave that dude like a 54 or something.
Madden 12, the Seahawks 2012 class is just an all-time great NFL draft that nobody saw coming. And some Seahawks fans today think that could be the 2025 draft class for them. Jalen Milroe is the equivalent of the Russ pick.
I agree.
I like it. I see the vision.
He will win a Super Bowl. Mark my words. Nicky Manwari is like Cam Chancellor for sure. I'm going to take Travis Kelce. I'm excited to see what him and Peyton Manning will cook up.
For real. Following in your footsteps, Theo, I'm going to take Jason Kelsey.
That was next on my board. That's a great pick.
I'm gonna strangle you for that.
Please
I thought
don't.
I could wait.
Please
I thought I could
don't.
wait.
I have a family deal, please.
You don't. You don't. Have
That's
any
true.
of
I
that.
don't. I don't. No.
Jason
I'm
Kelsey has a
completely
brother.
Unloved and alone. He does have a brother, and he's not going to get to play with him because he's playing with my squad. I've just seen too many good offensive linemen go off the board, but I think I've still got an edge here where I'm getting the best center to ever play the position, in my opinion, and I'm getting maybe the smartest offensive lineman ever. I mean, certainly on the short list there, just a mastery of the game intellectually pre-snap. So he can really be a captain of my offense. Now, he still gets to play with the Mahomes. So the Kelsey brothers and Mahomes remain together. It's just a different Kelsey. And then I'm going to go back-to-back offensive line. I'm taking Bruce Matthews. I think he is going to be playing right guard for me, but the beauty of the Bruce Matthews pick is this guy played every position on the offensive line, literally every single one in his career, and was all pro first team 3 times at right guard, once at center, 3 times at left guard, came into the league playing a fair bit of tackles. So I'm getting somebody who's got the frame, 6'5", 305, the agility and the power to play any position on the offensive line, and just one of the best ever. Like, this isn't a longevity list, but 14-time Pro Bowler and 7-time first team All-Pro. I'm very happy getting him. Also the patriarch of the GOAT football family. That's got to be worth something.
Back-to-back family picks, Kelsey Matthews.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, Theo, back to you.
I will take another offensive lineman. I will take John Hanna.
Nice.
10 consecutive All-Pro teams. Part of a record-setting New England rushing attack back before they were some iconic franchise. They never really, I know injuries don't really count in this, but he never did get hurt.
True.
So we'll, in case that proves to be not true and these guys see the field.
I'm fucked. I'm really counting
I
on
got
Bob
some
Sanders,
insurance.
Luke
I got
Kuechly, and
some-
Gronk not getting hurt.
I got some insurance for that.
This
He
is
finished.
Tom.
I'm looking
go,
at his
Theo.
Pro Football Reference. He finished 7th in Offensive Player of the Year voting, and I wonder if any offensive lineman has ever finished higher than that.
That's a really good question. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
We're going to keep going offensive line here. I'm going with the best center in his era. I'm going with Nick Mangold, Jets legend. Darrell Revis, Nick Mangold. Oh, man, I can't wait until Logan cooks up that graphic.
Yeah, you know what they say. You should always try to recreate the 2000s Jets whenever you can.
Mark Sanchez, next off the board,
Take
baby.
him. Take
Let's
him,
do it.
Joel.
Playoff
You need a
riser.
backup QB. You need
So-
multiple QB looks.
I've already got the best player, I think, in NFL history at this position. I'm going to take Brian Urlacher here. I cannot believe he is still available and on the board. I think he's the second best inside linebacker in NFL history, another defensive player of the year. Like, shout out Kuechly, shout out Wagner, shout out some of these modern guys. To me, it's Lewis and Urlacher, and so that tandem in the middle of the field is imposing and as nasty as all hell. So I am going to run a 3-4, and we're going to slide in Urlacher there. With my turnaround pick, I'm going to take – I'm conflicted here between which tackle I go with. So I'm going to take the best receiver on the board. I'm going to take Marvin Harrison.
Okay.
I think Harrison can kind of get underrated sometimes. I just want to mention this. Like, I actually think Marvin Harrison's damn. I just kind of thought about something, man. I got 2 alleged murderers on my squad, man.
Yeah, no, we see the kind of
building
character
it.
team that you're building. Yeah.
Damn, this is not a good look.
You're drafting like the Chiefs. You just don't care about off-the-field issues.
didn't even
You
think
got
about this.
you got Richard Sherman in there.
We'll take
He's
Pac-Man.
got
I'm gonna
some
take
stuff.
Pac-Man Jones next. Yeah.
Alan Faneca, didn't he have something not so good? No, we see the kind of team.
We're
that you're
playing
building.
football. We're not building a team of upstanding citizens. So yeah.
Brian Urlacher pick was exceptional. I'm gonna go with the best linebacker, arguably of his decade. I'm going with Patrick Willis. That's my next pick. Bobby Wagner, Patrick Willis. The coverage skills of both of them. I feel like they're just gonna complete my team. My defensive line is very old school, but outside of that, linebacker, corner is very much modern guys. Outside of Dion.
I am going to take a modern guy here as well. I'm going to take Von Miller to rush the
good pick.
passer. I think his performance in Super Bowl 50, because of all the Cam Newton dialogue, I went back and watched that. I actually think that was that's got to be like a top 10 just overall performance in the history of the league is Von Miller in that game. Now, why didn't they block him with more people? I don't know. Like, he was enjoying one-on-ones with Remmers the entire time, but he probably had like a 60% pressure rate. He had 2 forced fumbles, including a fumble 6, and then the game winner, of course. And then he also had a pass defensed, like way downfield, like he guarded somebody on a wheel route and like broke up the pass after he had been like bothering Cam all day. He had a couple more like almost forced fumbles where he ripped the ball out, but the guy's knee was on the ground like just before. So like the entire game, I don't know if I've ever seen a defensive player wreak as much havoc as Vaughn in Super Bowl 50.
It's a really good pick, man. I would have loved to have Vaughn as my second outside linebacker along with Lawrence Taylor. That being said, he's now gone, and I'm going to take a guy who played outside linebacker in his career, but I'm going to have him as an inside linebacker because I think in a 3-4 scheme he would be an inside linebacker. And that's Derek Brooks, who I think personally exactly fits what I want from this roster. Like, Logan, you're talking about Urlacher. And in terms of overall resume, well, I think that actually Brooks is right there with him. I mean, more Pro Bowls, more All-Pros, and a Defensive Player of the Year. But specifically in terms of scheme, I want dudes who are elite in terms of coverage. And no, maybe he doesn't quite have the size of Brian Urlacher. But yeah, I really don't know if there's ever been a better coverage linebacker than him. And he was an absolute tackle monster and played on one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen. 5-time first-team All-Pro in a 7-year span. He was All-Pro in some regard for 9 straight years. So I love him and Luke Kuechly as my inside linebacker duo. And then I think I'm going to keep going defense here. And I'm going to take Brian Dawkins as my free safety. First of all, nickname GOAT. Nobody's ever going to beat him in terms of nicknames. I've got Weapon X, I've got Wolverine, and that's the same guy. But I think another one of those guys who could be a really impactful safety both in the run and pass game. And I think the best safety left on the board. Back to you, Theo.
I've got someone who can beat you in nicknames, and I'm gonna take him just so I can have this little aside. I'm taking the Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks. Weird player. I'd just be interested to get him in the building.
Mad Stork.
I'm taking the Mad Stork. I just want to get him in the building. He's a 6'7" off-the-ball linebacker who was born in Guatemala. Has pretty good sack numbers over the course of his career for somebody playing off the ball. And just the body type is so bizarre. I just would like to see how that even works. I'm just curious. I'm treating him like he's a circus freak show.
Yeah, it's nice.
What
You'll
are
love that.
you?
1970s Hall of Fame team and 1980s Hall of Fame team.
There we go. So him and Jack Lambert is the two craziest white boys that could headline my linebacker room.
Now, I'm not very happy with Carson because he just completely sniped me on the Brian Dawkins pick.
Let's go.
I mean, I'm just imagining the black visor on the graphic. It just increases your team's aura plus 1,000 right there.
I've got
Hard-hitting
the B-Dog
player.
Bob Sanders safety tandem, man.
Yeah.
We are coming downhill and we are ruining your life.
Yeah, you're injuring players. You know, that's my main concern. How am I going to protect my guys? I'm going to take a safety here. I'm basically creating a Legion of Boom. I'm going to take Earl Thomas here to pair up with Cam Chancellor, and I have Bobby Wagner on the inside. The only difference between us and the LOB is that I think we just have better corner play all around. So I'm going with 3 all-time players on an all-time defense.
Nice.
That's a great pick.
Recreating the LOB is not a bad strategy for an all-time defense.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm debating which guy I go with here. I think I'm going to take – I'll let you guys in. I'm debating between taking Jared Allen and DeMarcus Ware. I'm going to take DeMarcus Ware here because I think Ware was better at his peak. And I've got 3 guys in the same archetype as edge, outside linebacker guys, Derek Thomas, TJ Watt, and Ware. We're going to play Ware at defensive end, and we're just going to slot TJ as that outside linebacker. So that is going to complete my defense. I have no more defensive picks to make in this draft. With my next pick, I'm going to take Joe Thomas as my staple on the
Damn.
offensive line. Joe Thomas
pick.
never, unfortunately, got to play competitive football, never played in a playoff game in his illustrious career because he was sent to the cesspool that is the Cleveland Browns. But we're going to play some winning football here, and I think Joe can get kind of overlooked sometimes just because he didn't play on any good teams.
That's a great pick.
Now it's back to me, and I'm going to build up that offensive line. I'm going with the player who has more All-Pros than holding penalties. I'm going with Zach Martin.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
It's a really good pick.
That is a good pick. I feel like I need more modern players. I don't think I have any. I have Vaughn in my defense now, and then Kelsey's still playing, and those are the only ones. I'm gonna take this. I guess this guy's not still playing, but he's modern. I'm gonna take Patrick Peterson.
Ooh, nice.
And you have a great kick returner, too, and punt returner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
good
true.
point.
Dude, you don't want Haynes or Peterson touching the ball, man. It's going to be a house call if Theo gets a rock.
That's true. Well, speaking of Haynes, I'm going to take another ASU legend here. I'm going to take Randall McDaniel as my other guard. Yeah, just give me an absolute bully. And I'm tempted to just finish my offensive line right now, but I did want Joe Thomas for my other tackle spot. That being said, I am going to do this because the trenches matter a lot. I'm going to take Willie Roaf here. I think another one of the greatest offensive linemen we've ever seen. He's going to be my right tackle. Mostly played left tackle for his career, but that's because most of the great tackles are going to play left tackle. I'm moving him over to the right. Monster. I think I got a monstrous O-line now. 6'5", 320. Great build. And nasty as hell.
Randall McDaniel's got to be my favorite name of any football player. Like Randall McDaniel goes so hard. I agree with the nickel characteristics of all of these teams, and I'm going to take Rondé Barber.
Nice.
Kind of the father of the nickel position, perhaps. Maybe I'm out of line saying that, but
No, I don't think you're out of line.
He was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rondé is a great pick. So much versatility on his end. That's a great nickel player, all-around defensive secondary player. I'm going to go offense. I only have one more offensive lineman left, but I feel like I can wait on that pick a little bit. I was looking through Madden 10's offensive lineman ratings, and I feel a little bit comfortable with a couple guys that I could get at that spot. So I'm going to go running back, and I'm going to go with arguably one of the highest running back peaks in NFL history, and I'm drafting Adrian Peterson.
Nice.
Valid.
Very valid. I mean, came into the league and was dominant.
I
don't know
We
if,
can scrap arguably. Definitely one of the highest running back peaks.
I don't know if this is who you were alluding to, Joel. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Walter Jones and shore up my offensive line.
Did he play in 2010? I don't know.
No, actually, he had retired by then, so I actually don't know who you may be referring to.
You can't read Joel. You can't see inside his mind.
There's too much Madden 10 information inside here.
And with my next pick, do you guys think is it crazy if I take George Kittle? Is that a ridiculous pick?
He'd be the third tight end off the board because Carson took Gronk, Theo took Kelsey. So you're taking Kittle over Gates, Gonzalez.
Well, it's like I obviously think those guys are better receiving options, but I need somebody who's going to be able to block in the run game.
Yep.
I'm debating. You know what? I'm going to take the no-brainer. I'm just going to draft Aaron Rodgers right here and quit playing around with it. I would have taken Rodgers over Peyton. Honestly, the debate I was having at quarterback was Rodgers or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I know that the Lamar thing has been really contentious recently. I've seen a lot of clips of people debating where he ranks among. Lamar still doesn't have the playoff resume to me to be in conversations with a Josh Allen. Josh Allen has just played so much better than Lamar consistently in the playoffs. And I know the numbers will blow you away. Obviously, they do with Lamar, but I need to see him go on a run or have, obviously this last year was like the best we've seen from Lamar, but I need to see it more. Rodgers is the efficiency GOAT. That hasn't changed. I think that he's a top 3 QB ever to me, so I'm just going to take him.
I mean, it's stupidly good value. It's stupidly good value. We're in the 20th round at this point, and you just got at least a top 4 quarterback peak ever to me. I think it's a phenomenal pick.
Yeah, and he's really not as bad in the playoffs as people say. Like,
it's one of the stupidest narratives ever.
And in 2011, 2012 Aaron Rodgers, dude, he literally averages across those 2 years 42 touchdowns to 7 picks, like almost 9 yards per attempt, passer rating over 116, and his offenses are scoring 31 points per game. He's ridiculous.
The playoff failures is the epitome of just bad luck, I think, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. There's just the one moment I think of is the NFC Championship against the Seahawks. Just terrible, abysmal clock management from Mike McCarthy.
I mean, I will say Rodgers played a shitty game that game. So that one I actually am okay with people putting on him. The one I think of is Kevin King against the Bucks. Like, damn, man, you want Rodgers to play cornerback too?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Like, he didn't play his best against the LOB, but they were up by so much that you just recover an onside kick. You know, it's just so many things that went wrong.
Clinton Dix breaks up the 2-point conversion. Morgan Burnett doesn't slide down on the interception return for no reason.
About how Russell Wilson has some serious voodoo magic going on around that time. The luckiest things would happen that he was baffling at the time.
You got to be unlimited. I mean, statistically, Rodgers has one of the best playoff resumes there is, just in terms of individual performance. Like, the efficiency stuff is all still elite, and he also had a phenomenal run that resulted in a Super Bowl. It feels like that all gets not forgotten, but not fully appreciated because he's Aaron Rodgers and people don't like him. But he's incredible. He's, basically as great a combination of physical gifts with intellectual mastery of the game that we've seen. He's insane. I'm an Aaron Rodgers truther. Okay, Joel.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking this is where I got to take fill out my offensive lineman. I'm just between a lot of different players, man. I need a left guard. Zach Martin's my right guard. You have Joe Tooney, a staple of a Super Bowl winning team. Quentin Nelson. That's really the debate I'm having in my head. It's Quentin Nelson versus Joe Tooney. And I kind of feel like Quentin Nelson at his best was better than Joe Tooney, as great as Joe Tooney was. But I'm thinking about another legend in, the 2010s, Jari Evans with the Saints. Just one of the staple offensive linemen for them. I think I'm going to go with Quentin Nelson at my pick to fortify my offensive line.
I'm looking forward to this one. I think this is good value. I'm taking Theo.
Yeah, that is good value. That is definitely good value.
There's 10 receivers on the board that are, if you take them, I'm like, yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah, I think I might do it right now and take the guy who per game is the most productive receiver we've ever seen and I think has a legitimate path to being the GOAT.
Fuck.
I'm just going to take Justin Jefferson, man. I mean, why not? I don't think anybody's touching my overall receiving core. I have Randy Moss, Antonio Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Rob Gronkowski. Between Moss, AB, and Jefferson, I think those are probably 3 of the top 5 receiving peaks we've ever seen. Jettis has been an automatic 100 yards a game since he came into the league, regardless of quarterback play. I mean, just one-of-a-kind combination of route running, coordination. People talk about just how special his vision and ball tracking is all the time because it's so ridiculous. Unbelievable hands. He's really got everything I want as the final compliment. In fact, I was debating between him and Antonio Brown in the 5th round or whatever, and I just got Jettis at basically the end of the draft. Now I think that I need to take my defensive tackle because it's a really important position for me in this 3-4, and there's 2 guys who I'm between. And I think all you guys have taken defensive tackles, so I guess I can speak openly about this, even though I am normally the Iron Curtain. I'm really caught between Warren Sapp and Chris Jones. Because with Warren Sapp, I mean, I've got such a monstrous all-time space eater run defender, but also one of the greatest pass rushers ever at the position. Chris Jones is probably an even better pass rusher. I mean, just with his speed and his bend at the position and being 6'6", right, having a slimmer build. But I think the gap in run defense in Sapp's favor is greater, because this is also a guy who put up a 16.5 sack season and a 12.5 sack season and was defensive player of the year in 4 straight years, first team all pro. I love Chris Jones, but ultimately I don't really need his versatility, which I think is such a selling point. I don't need him to be able to play inside or outside. I just need somebody to fucking dominate the middle, eat up double teams, because I've got J.J. Watt and Deacon Jones on the outside already. So I'm going to take Warren Sapp.
It's a hell of a pick.
Thanks, man. I've got a couple of the Bucks on my team.
Who's going to take Big Sexy?
Dexter Lawrence. I'm trying to figure out how to finagle my defensive line here, because I've got White, I've got Alan Page, and I've got Von Miller. White and Von, if they were on opposite edges, I think it could be a nasty duo, even though they're not quite the same type of player. But you don't need two, edge benders. In fact, I think I'd like it better if there was kind of that thunder and lightning type of combo. So I think I'm good there. I still need another receiver. I need a center. Logan, what can you tell me about Mike Webster?
Steelers legend.
Mike Webster's
Anything?
Mike Webster's kind of a tragic story in terms of overall, it's really sad. But I think
let's not go there.
I don't think you could go wrong with any of the 3 Steelers centers. The only thing I think working against Webster is just the fact that he's smaller than some of these other guys. You could go with Dermontti Dawson too. You could go with Marquise Pouncey. I think some other Steelers centers. But in terms of resume, it's probably Webster and Jim Otto as the 2 greatest ever.
You can go Drew Dalman.
I don't want you to go with Drew Dalman.
You sure?
I will take Webster because he was born in Tomahawk, Wisconsin, which I've actually been to.
Nice.
And that pushes him over the top along with the accolades, and that will fill out my offensive line room while I figure out what to do with my last defensive line spot.
That's just good team building right there. You're building a culture.
My pick is next, and Carson, you let a all-time chief fall into my lap. I was having my best poker face on while you were making the Chris Jones and Warren Sapp pick, because I'm taking Chris Jones, the most underrated defensive player of his era. I think the only knock on Chris Jones is that he played in an era where Aaron Donald played, so he was never the consensus best defensive tackle in the NFL, but there has been countless seasons now where I feel like I'm making an argument for Chris Jones being the defensive player of the year, and the raw sack numbers just don't allow him to be in the conversation for these voters for whatever reason. But his impact on a week-to-week basis is of that level. So yeah. I'm going with Chris Jones. It's spearheading the defense of a dynasty. I'm going with him.
I do love Chris Jones.
He should have won Defensive Player of the Year over Bosa that one year, I maintain.
I agree.
I concur.
He, really should be, deep in the DPOY conversation every year, and he's not. That's, his only really high DPOY finish is that one year, and he was third. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he should have won. He should have been number 1.
I'm going to take I want to give an honorable mention to somebody here, and that's Don Hudson. I think if Don Hudson doesn't get drafted, I think it's probably a travesty. I might take him if he lingers on.
Take him. Nobody has ever surpassed their peers by
literally when
Don
you look at Don Hudson's numbers, I mean, this is real. He is tripling up the guy in second place across his career in yards, catches, and basically TDs.
Half the teams didn't even know you could pass back then. He's putting up 1,000-yard, 12-touchdown seasons.
He's not even playing receiver. He's playing left end.
Yeah, of course.
That being said, I am going to take a guy with a more modern skill set. I'm going to take a Chief. I'm going to take Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, good pick.
I need a guy to take the top off of the defense. I've got Marvin. I think Marvin can kind of get underrated in terms of all-around skill set, route running, explosiveness, hands, body coordination, all that. I want a guy who's going to be able to get vert. And I've been thinking about the tight end thing. There's a lot of different directions I could go. I could go Shannon Sharp. I could go George Kittle. I could go Tony Gonzalez. I'm going to take, I think, the second best red zone threat ever, and I'm going to take Jimmy Graham. So
Wow.
I know that is shocking in terms of
Peak.
like career resume, but if we are going absolute apex, I think it's Gronk and I think it's Jimmy G in the red zone. And, Graham may not be the best blocker, but he is 6'7", 265. He can at least be a big body. So I'm going to go with Jimmy G.
Super fucking athletic, too.
Your
Basketball background,
reasoning
obviously.
for taking Tyreek Hill is the same reason I'm going to take this next player. And Carson taking Justin Jefferson was an amazing pick. And this is the only receiver in the league that can rival Jefferson right now, and that's Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good pick. The receiver talent is crazy. Like, I feel like we are all going to be stacked at receiver. Me more so.
Right
Everybody
now,
else, but
I have
still
Jerry
crazy.
Rice, Calvin Johnson, and Jamar Chase.
It's pretty good.
You having Gronk took it over the top.
Mhm.
That is, I don't know who my tight end is going to be. I really don't.
Not Gronk, though.
Yeah, not Gronk, not Kelsey. Jimmy Graham is off the board. There's still a couple good tight ends, but I still got to see where I'm gonna go with that.
All right, Theo.
Let's see. I'm going to go with Bob Lilly,
That's a great
Mr.
pick.
Cowboy. Very, very quick and athletic defensive tackle. I saw a highlight one time of him jumping over a fullback and then keep on running, and he made the tackle in the backfield. So he's got some quickness and some athletic prowess that I think would translate to the game today. At 260 pounds, so maybe he'd be kicked kind of out to the edge, but we got Reggie White to do whatever we need to do to free Lilly up.
Yeah, it's a great shout. I mean, he's probably the most accomplished defensive tackle in NFL history, just in terms of accolades. All right. I've only got a few positions to fill at this point. And defensively, I'm looking at outside linebacker, my second outside linebacker, and I'm looking at corner. Most of the top corners have gone, but I've mentioned this guy a few times. I will take Mel Blount at this point. I mean, he literally forced them to change the rules of the sport. He was that dominant, that physically imposing. He has that great size at the position. He was a defensive player of the year at his apex in a season when, on top of this elite physicality and coverage, he gave you 11 picks in 14 games. I feel good about getting him here. And then I'm going to take Micah Parsons at my other outside linebacker spot. I understand that maybe he doesn't have the career resume, the gravitas of the names of some of these legends yet, but I think he's absolutely on that trajectory. I mean, one of the most immediately dominant and productive defensive players we've ever seen. And when I do think about what I want from my outside linebackers, I want the sort of insane speed and bend that he does have. Obviously is an elite pass rusher first and foremost, by far, and is one of the best that we've seen there. But I also think has the agility to play in coverage a little bit if we need that from him. And I think he's just the best overall option left on the board.
Sweet.
Thanks,
I thought you were gonna go Sauce Gardner there.
No.
First
No.
2 years.
Yeah, I thought you were
historic.
going to take Breece Hall, man.
I should have. I really should have.
With doing
I'm thinking about
drafting
taking
these,
Christian Hackenberg next round.
drafting these receivers, there's a couple all-time guys that are going to be left off the board. And I think Fitzgerald might be one of them. I don't know if either of us are going to draft him. My receiving core is set, so I can speak openly about this.
Let's see. Is it me on the swing again? I think
It is you.
I'm debating between Fitz and Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
Don-
that's
Don
a peak
Hudson.
versus longevity thing right there.
Yeah,
Don
I
Hudson.
think
Don
I
No,
am.
no,
gonna-
Andre Johnson shout.
Lance Bambi Allworth.
I love
Steve
I love the
Largent.
Lance Allworth shout.
Raymond Berry.
He
Lance
had an
Allworth was
underrated
a
run in the
monster.
70s.
He's another one of those guys who's just way above everybody else in production.
I am going to go with Larry. I think about how he was during that Cardinals Super Bowl run where they ended up losing Logan and how he performed in that Super Bowl.
Oh my
which
gosh,
was ridiculous.
burned Ike Taylor and Troy up the sideline to give them a go-ahead TD with like 3
Yeah,
minutes. That's one of the greatest individual playoff runs ever by. It might be the greatest.
Definitely.
It might be the best.
Definitely. So that's something that makes me lean Larry Fitzgerald over Adams. That playoff run, he had so much more speed than you think of with him. You think of him as the not drop a pass guy, and therefore you think of him as the possession guy. But he had so much fire in him to just pull away from people, to moss people, ran great routes, and obviously caught everything. So I am going with Larry Fitzgerald as my third receiver.
I love that. I'm glad that he was drafted. I would have been very sad if he didn't get drafted.
Yeah, Madden 10, he was on the cover, right?
Yeah.
On the cover with Palomalu.
He was. That's the
I think that was
greatest
the first Madden
cover
I ever
all
owned
time.
myself. I had
That's
Madden.
Joel's football Bible for this draft.
Yeah.
Is Madden 10.
This next guy I'm taking, I need some Spanish representation on my team. I'm taking Tony Gonzalez. Taking
Nice.
Tony Gonzalez here. Looking at Pro Football Reference Hall of Fame monitor, blows everybody's out the water. It's like 195 to like 133. It's just insane longevity. The best tight end of the 2000s. I'm going with Tony Gonzalez.
I mean, unequivocally, I think the best receiving tight end ever. Like, if we're just looking at, like, overall, like, close to...
Unequivocally?
I mean, I would...
Kelsey?
It's him or Kelsey. It's a Chief. You could argue Kelsey. Kelsey's a great route runner, too. I really like Kelsey's improvisation that you see with Mahomes, but I probably still would give the
zone
edge
beater.
to Tony.
Yeah, I got Brady. I don't do improv. Just get it
No,
out
that's true.
quick.
2.5 seconds, that ball is out every time.
I only have two positions left. I have center open, and I have my extra offensive position. I'm going to take Dermontti Dawson to hold down the middle of the field for me. 6-time All-Pro, all of them consecutive in the 90s. I think the best center in that era of football. And with my last pick, all right, I had to get it in. I had to get
Finally
it.
busted out.
I had to get it in there one time. I'm going to take a position that I don't think anybody else is going to take today. I could take Don Hudson and get a third wideout. I'm going to take a fullback because we're going to play some old school smash mouth football, and I'm going to take
Leach?
I'm going to take the best run blocking fullback ever. I'm going to take Lorenzo Neal. Neal blocked for Eddie George.
Tony Richardson?
Hey, shout out Tony Richard. That's a Madden 10 cut. That's one hell of a Madden 10 cut there.
97 overall.
Look, he knew it.
You went defense for the first, 7 rounds of this draft. Then your first offensive player taken was a 1960s running back, and now you're taking a fullback. I love your identity. You know what you're doing. It's hard-nosed. It's Logan Camden football.
Damn right.
I'd take Leonard Weaver, though, if we're talking about Madden 10.
Shout out Leonard
Dude,
Weaver.
I'm looking at Logan's draft here. It's actually unbelievable because after he finally went offense, then he went back to defense for the next 2 picks. Then he went offensive line twice, and then he went defense again. So his first 14 picks, I believe.
I have the list here. When was my first skill position pick? Or actually, after
Jim Brown, but Jim Brown was a 60s absolute tank. Marvin Harrison was your first. And I think the 14th or 15th round.
Over half of the draft before I took him.
Rodgers is cooking with him.
Dude,
Yeah.
we gave Rodgers a defense and the nastiest run game of all time.
I can't believe you're going 2 receivers and a fullback. That's awesome.
Look,
Okay.
if too high is the meta, Logan might.
It's true, actually. He might beat up, but luckily I'm not nickel. I've still got big boys out there. I can contend with him.
There we go.
All right. I have one final pick. This is a defensive end. And we made it easy. I'm going to go with Michael Strahan, former Defensive Player of the Year,
Nice.
single season sack leader, although questionable.
That's TJ
'cause
Watt. That's TJ Watt.
Brett Favre did take a dive, clearly. But Michael Strahan, I mean, having him on the same team as Tom Brady, I feel like that just maybe there's some animosity there between the two. Maybe we don't get along the best, or maybe that lights a fire under both of them, and the best level of greatness comes out. So I'm going with Michael Strahan.
It's beautiful. Theo?
I got one safety left. I'm going to take Earl Thomas. The greatest center fielder probably ever.
Didn't Earl Thomas
Wait, didn't
go?
Joel, I
Yeah,
think
I
Joel
took
took
him.
Earl
I
Thomas.
took
You
Yeah.
just took him?
Thomas.
I'm in my own
Yeah.
world.
I took him
writing
like a
down my
couple
team.
rounds ago.
Well, I don't even know any other safeties, man.
Eric Weddle.
Um,
Paul Krause. Take Paul Krause.
You don't want
Paul
Eric
Krause.
Weddle.
I went to high school with his grandson.
But he's
In
the all-time
Northfield,
interception
Minnesota.
leader.
Yeah, Brian
is.
Dawkins is off.
You
Ed
could take
Reed,
Sean
Brandon will be
Taylor.
So happy.
Earl Thomas.
Shout out Joey Malika.
Big ups. Friend of the show. I'm trying to think about who else. You can go for
I would-
Ken Houston.
I would
Eric
take
Berry.
I would take Sean Taylor.
Eric Berry. I'm gonna go with John Lynch, because then he can be the GM after he's done playing, and
Yeah, Lynch is a good
hopefully
pick.
build some more good rosters.
Lynch is a good pick. He was on my extended board. Him and Steve Atwater, honestly, were probably the next couple safeties who I was going to look at. So this is the final pick of the draft, and I love the guy who I'm getting here. It's got to be a running back. Sadly, I am fueling into the narrative that running backs don't matter and their draft value is going to fall, and this guy's going to make pennies on the dollar. But I'm taking Marshall Faulk. I just think one of the absolute highest peaks at the position that we have ever seen in terms of yards from scrimmage was putting up numbers year over year, the likes of which we've never seen. 1999 to 2001, he averaged 1,400 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns with 900 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. So 2,300 yards a season and like basically 20 touchdowns a year. Just absolutely ridiculous. And I do really like having a great receiving back. I think that obviously we are going to be a very potent passing attack. I have Patrick Mahomes, Randy Moss, Antonio Brown, Justin Jefferson, Rob Gronkowski. Why not get maybe the greatest receiving back ever who also averaged 5.5 yards per carry and was a touchdown machine in the run game too, and was an incredible part of the greatest offense that we've ever seen, and that's Marshall Faulk. So we now have our full teams. We know that this is going to be difficult for you guys to follow along, so we will have a full graphic with all of our rosters at this point. And everybody, if you're just listening on audio, I do recommend you go check out the visual, and we'll have a graphic on social and everything after. But I will now read out my full offense. We'll all read our offenses first, and then we'll read our defenses. My quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Running back, Marshall Faulk. Receivers, Randy Moss, Antonio Brown, Justin Jefferson. Tight end, Rob Gronkowski. Left tackle, Orlando Pace. Left guard, Randall McDaniel. Center, Jason Kelsey. Right guard, Bruce Matthews. And right tackle, Willie Roaf. Joel, do you have your offense in front of you?
Yes. My quarterback is Tom Brady. My running back is Adrian Peterson. Wide receiver, Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, Jamar Chase. Tight end, Tony Gonzalez. Left tackle, Trent Williams. Left guard, Quentin Nelson. Center, Nick Mangold. Right guard, Zach Martin. And right tackle, Lane Johnson.
It's absurd how stacked all these teams are, but I guess that's how an all-time draft works. Okay, Theo, do you have your offense?
I do. I've got Peyton Manning at quarterback. I've got Barry Sanders. My receivers are Julio Jones, Terrell Owens, and Larry Fitzgerald. My offensive line is Anthony Munoz. I'm not pronouncing that right.
Munoz.
I think I'm
Okay.
Munoz.
It's just Munoz.
Munoz.
They're
And
just
then I
they
got-
don't write the Enye
Yeah.
on Pro Football Reference. I don't know why. Racism, I guess.
That's lame. I got Larry Allen. I got Mike Webster. I got John Ogden and John Hanna. That's the offensive line. My tight end is Travis Kelce.
Nice. Logan?
I've got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. He's flanked by Jim Brown and Lorenzo Neal in the backfield. Out wide, I've got Marvin Harrison and Tyreek Hill.
I still love the fullback pick so much. It's just so on brand.
At tight
Patrick
end,
Ricard.
dude, that's how I play Madden, bruh. I play like 20 to 17 football games, bruh, like Grime Fest.
You should have gone 22 personnel, 1 receiver, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends.
Should have done the Steelers training camp look of 4 tight ends.
Yeah. And
Nothing
Jonnu
else.
Smith in the backfield.
Johnny
yeah.
Smith in the backfield. 3 tight ends up attached to the line.
At tight end, I've got Jimmy Graham. Left tackle, I've got Joe Thomas. Left guard, I've got Steve Hutchinson. Center, I've got Dermontti Dawson. Right guard, I've got Alan Faneca. And right tackle, I've got Walter Jones.
All right, pretty nasty. My
Faneca
defense
and Hutchinson picks were insane, bro.
broke Joel's heart. He wanted him so bad. Okay, I have at defensive tackle Warren Sapp. My defensive ends, J.J. Watt and Deacon Jones. My outside linebackers, Lawrence Taylor and Micah Parsons. My inside linebackers, Luke Kuechly and Derek Brooks. My corners, Champ Bailey and Mel Blunt. And at free safety, Brian Dawkins. And strong safety, Bob Sanders. Joel?
My defensive end, Bruce Smith and Michael Strahan. Defensive tackles, Mean Joe Green and Chris Jones. My linebackers, Bobby Wagner and Patrick Willis. My three corners, Deion Sanders, Darrell Revis, and Charles Woodson. My free safety, Earl Thomas, and my strong safety, Cam Chancellor.
Theo?
I have got a defensive line that consists of Reggie White, Alan Page, Bob Lilly, and Von Miller. My linebackers are Jack Lambert and the Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks. And then the secondary is Mike Haynes, Patrick Peterson, Rondé Barber, with Ronnie Lott and John Lynch behind them.
Nice. I love that Theo didn't shy away from the throwbacks, especially on defense. There's some monsters there.
The kids these days don't know how to.
And they don't know about the match.
They don't know about playing defense. They don't know.
They don't know how to
about
tackle.
hitting.
They don't know about having a guy whose nickname was the Assassin because literally he killed the guy he hit him so hard. They don't know about that sort of mentality.
No.
True.
No.
Logan?
Football's for pansies nowadays.
Yeah, it's all soft woke nonsense. I don't watch this stuff.
all these Nancy boys playing now, man.
I just watch Jack Tatum
Where's our
highlights.
catered? Where's our
Yeah.
catered flower child bowl?
We used to eat gruel. And after we
used-
ate the gruel, they'd dump it on our faces. And we'd have to kill the guy next to us, our roommate, who we'd been friends with for 5 years. They'd make us kill him just to show we could.
Ted, yeah,
And we
Jack
won the
Lambert
Oklahoma
killed
drill.
and ate his opponents on the field,
He did.
and that's why the
That's
Steelers
true.
defense was so good.
And he learned how to do it in the womb when he killed and ate his twin.
Yeah.
Logan?
I think the scariest looking dude all time on defense, man. At defensive end, I've got Myles Garrett. At my other defensive end spot, I've got DeMarcus Ware. At D tackle, I've got Aaron Donald. My outside linebacker spots, I've got TJ Watt and Derek Thomas. My inside linebacker spots, I've got Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher. My corners are Rod Woodson and Richard Sherman. And my safety tandem is Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu.
Very
I'm
nice.
very scared of that secondary.
Yeah,
You should
could
be.
tell
Very.
Logan drafted defense first.
Exactly.
That is stacked.
No, Logan's defense is ridiculous. I say we all very quickly just make a pitch for our team, sort of sum up why we think our team is so great. For me, offensively, it starts with what I think is the most potent passing attack that anybody put together today. I've got the most dynamic quarterback talent with the craziest arm, with the best mobility. And then I also have the best overall receiving talent and very well-rounded. We've got A++ athletes, A++ red zone targets, but we've also got A++ route runners, footwork, hands kind of guys. We've got it all. Massive offensive line. And then defensively, we have an insane pass rushing group. J.J. Watt, Deacon Jones, Lawrence Taylor, Micah Parsons, and one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles ever, Warren Sapp. But we've also got super physical guys who can play the run at a really high level. And then with the 3-4, I do think that we've got enough speed, enough agility to get away with not having to go nickel. So I think we just have the best combination of that bruising physicality up front with that speed on the back end.
So I think you have a good argument for having a great potent passing attack, maybe the best if my team didn't exist. You know, I have Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, Jamar Chase. I think I have the best receiver all time, and then Calvin Johnson is the most talented receiver in history. And if you want championships, I got that. Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, Lane Johnson. I got 3 champions.
Ring culture,
I
toxic.
got
toxic
champions
argument.
that they've won multiple times. They don't even have enough rings to fit on their fingers. That's how many championships I have combined with my team. And defensively, you know, I thought about Carson's strategy, and I said, you know what? Randy Moss could be negated by Revis Island. Last time, you know, Randy Moss was on there, he didn't find a flight back home. Revis Island shut that down.
Release
And I
the
have
files.
multiple defensive players of the years. And my defensive line, I think, is just good enough. Michael Strahan led the league in sacks one year. Chris Jones, one of the most underrated ever. And for the kids out there, Mean Joe Green and Bruce Smith, I mean, do your homework. And I have 3 players from one of the all-time defenses, all-time players, Bobby Wagner, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor.
Very nice. Very nice. Theo, what's your pitch for your team?
I think it starts up front with the offensive line, investing in that more heavily. is hopefully the thing that pushes me over. Anthony Munoz and Jonathan Ogden were two of the greatest tackle prospects of all time, like just coming out of college. They're just different, bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else. Coming to the league, they're bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else. Same thing with Hannah. Same thing with Allen. Like, you could just run everybody over with Barry Sanders. Like, and that's not even taking into account the Peyton Manning of it all, the 5-time MVP playing with Julio, who averaged almost 100 yards a game. Theo was ridiculous no matter who the quarterback was. Fitz, maybe not quite as ridiculous no matter who the quarterback was, but he, when he had Kurt Warner, was looking like an all-timer and ended up being an all-timer just because of how long he played. But yeah, Kelsey as well, just can't get a lot better than that as a passing ceiling and as a rushing ceiling. And then on defense, like, Alan Page is an MVP defender. Reggie White's maybe the GOAT defender. We're going to get pressure. And look, the linebacker and corner tandem I didn't invest as much in, but is there a significant difference between them and any of these other guys? I don't know.
I think Theo is most likely to just, and this is with Peyton Manning, as you said, but let's give Barry a 350 carry season and just run behind that offensive line, because that offensive line is ridiculous. That's one of the best units that anybody put together today. I think that's the real strength of your team. Okay, Logan, what's your pitch?
The best unit that was assembled by anybody today was my defense, though. It is the most destructive, demoralizing, and dominant defense ever assembled. I think we might have 7 of the 10 best defenders post-2000. I have Ray Lewis, I have Aaron Donald, I have TJ Watt, I have Myles Garrett, I have Ed Reed, I have Troy Polamalu, and Richard Sherman. Like, that's not even mentioning Urlacher. Like, we might have the 10 best defenders post-2000 along with those guys.
Settle down. I got J.J. Watt.
Oh, I forgot about J.J. So...
Yeah.
90% maybe. I've got Rod Woodson. I've got Derek Thomas. I mean, 2 of the best defenders in the 1990s as well. I think, and I got DeMarcus Ware. I think this is the best defensive unit that you could have created. The only thing that would have made this better is if I could have gotten Lawrence Taylor. And so that is the strength of this team, the fact that we have got such a death squad defensively. And then offensively, we're going to play a throwback style of football. We are anchored by our dominant running attack with the greatest running back of all time, Jim Brown, an elite offensive line, the best run-blocking fullback, I think, ever. And I can't think of a better guy to lead the unit than the most efficient passer of all time. We're going to play defensive, ball control, efficient football. And when we need to throw the rock, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to find the complete skill set of Marvin Harrison, a guy who can take the top off of the defense in Tyreek Hill, or one of the greatest red zone threats of all time in Jimmy Graham. So, we're going to
He's going to want Alan Lazard on this team, though, and he's going to want Alan
Lazard. and Randall Cobb.
You're going to have to cut. Well, you're not cutting Lorenzo Neal because he's too important to your identity. You're cutting Tyreek Hill to make a spot for
Unfortunately.
Alan Lazard.
Yeah, it's just what comes with the territory.
And you have to take into account the Nathaniel Hackett.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. And 3 months of ayahuasca in the cave in the offseason. He's not coming to OTAs. Logan,
you
your
better not run the ball
is
too much,
amazing.
otherwise
yeah, exactly.
You might have to lean on the backup because Rodgers is retired.
Dude, that defense is so absurd. Like, looking at it is, but I also think your offense is by far 4th out of 4. So, yes, you put together the GOAT defense, but you did pay for it. You did pay for it.
I did not. We've got a rock-solid identity, and, dude, go playing.
I have Patrick Mahomes, Marshall Faulk, Randy Moss, Antonio Brown, Justin Jefferson, Rob Gronkowski.
We're killing your team. I have murderers on my team. We're killing you.
Fuck. That's kind of true. You really might kill us.
Carson's team is built on injured players and players who have like illegal moves. Like if Merlin Olsen gets called for the head slap, your team is a liability. If Mel Blount gets penalized for doing a wrestling for RKOing,
we have to let Mel Blount play by his old rules. I will say though, my secondary is nasty, and I mean that just in terms of like physical force. B-Doc, Bob Sanders, and Mel Blount. We are coming to take your heads off. But This was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for coming on and doing this. Two of our dearest friends over at this show. Oh, we value you guys both so much, and we appreciate you coming on and doing this with us because I had a ton of fun. I am very, very interested in what the people will have to say. I feel like I see the argument for all of these teams as being the best, and I wonder if it'll be pretty even or if one will emerge as the people's favorite. We shall see. But everybody, regardless of who you think put together the best team, don't hold it against Theo if you didn't love his team so much. Don't hold it against Joel. Support them all the same. Go check out all of Theo's content. Phenomenal football analysis on TikTok. The best film stuff that you're going to find on the platform. And, of course, go support all of our friends over at the Stay Hot podcast. Go listen to him and Bladen and Spawn Hour. Have a high old time. And go support Joel everywhere. Go listen to the Pick a Side podcast. You will have a very, very hard time finding a better combination of just phenomenal entertainment with some real ball knowledge over there. We love all the Pick a Side guys, and we're going to have you guys all on soon. So, any last words before we let you guys go?
No, just thank you for having me on. I'm glad that I got to build an all-time team. Definitely put my Madden 10 and 11 chops to the test.
It's real. That's real as hell. All right. Theo, is there anything you want to say? I heard an inhale, and I never know with you. You always keep me on my toes on the mic.
I've seen like 5 players on my team. So I hope they're all cracked up to be.
You took the Mad Stork because you just wanted to see what a freak looks like out there. You took who was it?
I love
just 'cause they're from
I will say
Wisconsin?
that's a
Mike
dominant
Webster?
defensive tackle tandem, man. That is nasty. Bob Lilly and Alan Page, Reggie White.
That is.
That's a crazy D line.
A defensive
They got belts
tackle
on
is
the
one of
wall.
the positions that peaked in like.
Oh,
the
I will
70s.
say, I do want to, real quick before we get out of here, I do want to get some honorable mentions to some guys that I thought really should have gotten drafted, or you can only do so many with, 88 with 4 guys, but I thought Walter Payton was one of the biggest snubs. I thought he was going to go. I thought John Randall had a potential to go as one of the GOAT D-tackle. And Don Hudson is the final guy. I mentioned it during the episode, but those are the 3 guys that I really thought somebody was going to take. Also, shout out
And
Earl
Otto Graham.
Campbell for, I guess.
You didn't think Otto Graham was going? I had him 101 on my board.
I think Mad Dog would take him 101 for sure.
Mad
Him or
Dog would
Skip.
Take him 101. Yep, that's a good point.
You don't know about Otto Graham. I watched him.
Let me tell you something.
Boy,
Why
could he
a
sling that.
Why
Boy,
a
could he sling
Tittle
that
could
rock.
throw a ball so far the radio waves couldn't even pick up on the sound anymore.
500 yards is what Y.A. Tittle have, and he never gets
Noam
any
Van
respect
Brocklin.
around here.
Noam Van Brocklin threw for 554 yards in a game. Last year, nobody threw for that many in a season. You've never seen anybody like Noam Van Brocklin. And it's true. All right. Appreciate you guys. One last shout out to the fellas. Go check out Joel and Theo. And with that, as always, check us out everywhere. Nerd Sesh, you know where to find us. We've got all sorts of fun stuff. Trivia throughout the summer. All-time rankings. All-time drafts like this. We're having a good old time. So, with that, as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
I'm Theo.
I'm Joel.
And this was Nerds.